I think the first thing that I want to make very, very clear, because it's been an important milestone in this situation that we've been dealing with, is that there's no water is flowing over the emergency spillway at this time. That's an important thing, because our primary goal is to ensure safety of our community and the residents that we serve, and that is a big step forward towards that. The lake levels are continuing to fall. That's also an important point. Our objective is to lower the lake level by 50 feet in order to prepare for future inflow of water due to storms and precipitation. We're continuing to monitor, with the Department of Water Resources staff, continuing to monitor the spillways for erosion. As you know, we issued an evacuation order because of a situation that we thought was significant to public safety or posed a threat to public safety. I understand that there are a lot of rumors out there suggesting that the evacuation is going to end at 4:15 today. That is not accurate, folks. This is still a dynamic situation. It's still a situation we're trying to assess the damage, and we need to have time to make sure that before we allow people back into those areas, it is safe to do so. So I want to make it clear, the evacuation is still in effect. Now, that said, I also want to make it very clear that we're working on a repopulation plan to allow for the safe and orderly repopulation or return of the citizens to their homes. When it is safe, based upon the evaluations from DWR and our state and federal partners, then we'll be in a better position to make the decision as to when to lift that evacuation. But again, I want to make it clear, evacuations are still in place. I recognize that this is displacing a lot of people. I recognize what a hardship it is placed on our community. But again, as I told you last night, we did this because our primary purpose is to ensure public safety. It was a hard decision to make, but I can tell you that the decision to release the evacuation and allow people to return to the evacuate area is an equally difficult decision to make, and it's one that has to be based on analysis that we're receiving from subject matter experts in the field. So thank you very much, and I'm going to now turn it over to my colleague from the CAL FIRE.
Thank you, Chief Honey. Kevin Lawson, I'm the Incident Commander with CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 3. I wanted to share with you guys that we are in close cooperation and in unified command with Butte County Sheriff and the Department of Water Resources. As the Sheriff had stated, it's very much a fluid and dynamic operation that is going on out there. When you try to factor in what we're dealing with Mother Nature, it's hard to look at a crystal ball and predict how that's going to evolve. So with the close communication and cooperation amongst these agencies, as well as our state and local counterparts providing us with the resources that we're getting, and we are getting the resources that we request and the resources that we need. So I assure you it's working seamlessly amongst the three of us, and I expect that to continue.
And if I could just add, now that we've discussed that, I just want to talk briefly about a press release that you should have received from my office a little while ago. Reference the actions we took to protect the inmates housed in the Butte County Jail. It was necessary for us to evacuate those inmates when we issued the evacuation order for the general public. At the time, I did not disclose the location where those inmates were going to be housed because it would have posed a security risk while they were in transit. They have now arrived safely, and we are very fortunate to have the assistance of the Alameda County Sheriff's Office. Those inmates, all in excess of 500 of them, were transported down to Alameda County Jail, and they're arrived safely, and they're currently being housed. Sheriff Ahern was gracious enough to do that, and they will remain in that location until such time as we determine it is safe to return them to the Butte County Jail. The press release that you received gives family members the information they need to make contact with their loved ones. It provides a number that they can contact so that they can check on their loved ones and perhaps contact them and visit them.
So, my name is Bill Croyle, acting director of the California Department of Water Resources. So, as indicated, we are not water is not flowing over the emergency spillway. Our efforts to continue to monitor our situation on the flood control structure that was damaged earlier in this week continues. We're using a wide variety of monitoring techniques, including 24/7 people on the ground, live feed video, and drone resources to make sure that we understand the dynamics behind our existing system. We're moving 100,000 cubic feet per second down that spillway. We've been doing that for about the last 16 or 17 hours. We bumped the flow up when this situation occurred late yesterday afternoon to mitigate the impact of that erosion that was occurring. That solution worked to reduce the threat. It took a while for that water to come down and for us to get in and assess that condition at the downstream side of the emergency spillway. We're going to continue to work on the challenges that we have with this facility. As indicated, we're working to really dig down into the reservoir and move as much water out of that reservoir, and so we have space for the storms that we expect to come in, as well as the snow runoff later this spring. People are working very hard to deal with some of the challenges that we have. As indicated, we have a pretty diverse multi-agency and contractor resources are being deployed to address a whole number of things that are popping up, including implementing protective measures or corrective measures to make sure that we're not only dealing with what's occurring now, but have a little longer perspective on what may occur with our spring runoff period. Thank you.
We're now open to take questions, but again, we'd like to limit those to a very few questions. Our emergency managers have a lot of work to do, and we'd like to get back and do what we can to protect the citizens of Butte County.
What is the current inflow into the lake, and how do you expect to hit the 50-foot target by the storm time the storm hits on Wednesday?
Yeah, so the question is, what is the inflow? I'm sorry, I should have covered that. It's an important part of the dynamics within the reservoir operations. So this morning about 9 o'clock, we had approximately 37,000 acre-feet of water flowing into the reservoir. So we're on the kind of the back side of the hydrograph, which is good. We're discharging, again, 100,000 cubic feet per second. So we have a net or a delta of storage coming out, more than 60,000 acre-feet. That will continue to increase in the coming days. We do have a storm coming in later Thursday, Friday. However, the forecasted hydrograph on that looks quite a bit smaller than the event we went through here in the last 3 or 4 days. So we will continue to develop storage, except for maybe about 12 or 15 hours that's being forecast. And then we have a couple more storms forecasted to come in after that time, but we still need to get a little closer to those weather conditions to see how that affects our storage. We expect to continue to make significant progress on developing that required flood storage here in the coming days and hopefully the coming weeks.
Can you hit 50 feet at this rate? That's the question.
It all depends on the runoff, on the weather systems, the air temperature in the upper basin. These storms look like they're coming in a little cooler at about 4,000 foot elevation, which is good. But frankly, this watershed has plenty of snow and rain in it. But we're going to deal with that that comes in. So when or how long this is going to take kind of depends on the dynamics within the watershed. It could be 10 to 15 days. It could be a little bit longer. But our infrastructure is holding up very well, even though it's been damaged. And if we can keep up this discharge rate of 100,000 CFS. Here in the coming days, we will make good progress on that.